Have you ever seen a promise so deep it rewrote someone's entire life? Picture this: a single mother worn thin by years of sacrifice, dreaming quietly of a seaside escape she never dared ask for. Decades pass, her hopes fading, until Keanu Reeves, her son, steps in, builds her that dream house by the ocean, and hands her the key. One moment, one gift, one tearful whisper changes everything. Where are you watching from right now? Your kitchen? Your car? Tell us in the comments. And if this hits you hard, smash that like button and subscribe, because the story only gets wilder. Let's jump in. The clock ticked softly in Keanu Reeves' Los Angeles apartment, the only sound breaking the stillness of the late hour. He sat alone on the hardwood floor, barefoot, legs crossed, surrounded by a mess of old photo albums. His fingers brushed the edge of a worn leather cover, hesitating before flipping it open. The pages were yellowed, the photos curling at the corners, each one a snapshot of a life he'd never let fade. He turned a page and stopped cold. There it was, a picture of him at 9, standing in a doorway with a lopsided grin, jeans too short, sleeves too long. Behind him stood his mother, Patricia Taylor, hands on her hips, eyes soft but tired. The apartment they'd lived in back then was tiny, 2 cramped rooms with peeling paint and a heater that barely worked. But in that grainy shot, she was smiling. Keanu leaned closer, studying her face. Even through the blur of time, her exhaustion was clear, yet that smile held strong. He remembered the day that photo was snapped. They just moved into that rundown place in Toronto. The landlord had grumbled about unreliable hot water and a cracked window that let the cold seep in. Patricia didn't flinch. She unpacked a box of chipped mugs, lined them up on a shelf like they were treasures, and said, "We'll make it beautiful." That night, they'd sat on a sagging couch wrapped in a single blanket, flipping through a home magazine she'd borrowed from the library. One page showed a coastal house, wide windows, a wildflower garden, cliffs sloping to the ocean. "Someday," she'd said, her voice quiet but warm, "I'd love a house like that. Nothing fancy, just peace, a little garden, a breeze through the windows, room for you kids to visit. That'd be enough." He'd said it like it was a passing thought, a dream too small to hold on to, but Keanu never forgot. Now, decades later, those words echoed in his chest. He closed the album and stood, the memory pulling at him like a tide. Patricia had given him everything. Every late shift at the diner, every mended coat, every skipped meal so he and his sister Emily could eat. She'd raised them on a waitress's wages, sold her wedding ring to cover rent, smiled through it all like the world hadn't worn her down. And what had he given her back? Movies, fame, money? But not that house, not that peace. Time was slipping away, quiet and cruel, and he couldn't shake the feeling he was running out of chances to make it right. He crossed the room to a small desk, opened the top drawer and pulled out a faded sheet of paper. It was a shopping list in his mother's neat handwriting. Milk, bread, eggs. But on the back, in his childish scrawl, was a doodle, a boxy house with uneven lines, a stick-figure garden, and a scribbled note, "Mom's dream house, someday." He stared at it, his throat tightening. She'd never asked for anything, not when he landed his first film role, not when he offered to buy her a new place. "Spend it on something meaningful," she'd always say. "I'm fine." But fine wasn't enough anymore. Not for her. Not after everything. Keanu grabbed his phone and scrolled to Lorenzo's name, his assistant, his confidant, the guy who could make miracles happen and keep them quiet. It rang twice before Lorenzo picked up, voice groggy but sharp. "Keanu, it's 1:42 a.m. "Sorry," Keanu said, soft but firm. "Couldn't wait." "No problem. What's up?" Keanu paused, giving himself one last chance to back out. He didn't. "It's time. I want to find it." A beat of silence. "The house?" "Yeah, the one she always dreamed of. By the ocean, simple, peaceful, space for a garden, maybe a guest room. I want to give it to her." Lorenzo's tone shifted, all business. "You're serious?" "I've been carrying this too long," Keanu said, voice barely above a whisper. "She gave me everything and never asked for a damn thing. She deserves this." Coastal or lake, modern or rustic, Ocean, Keanu replied without hesitation. She loved the ocean. Somewhere quiet, big windows, a place where the waves drown out the noise. I'll start looking first thing. No, Keanu cut in. Start now. A pause, then on it. The call ended. Keanu stood still, phone in hand, staring at the doodle again. He walked back to the album, opened it to that old photo, and pressed the corners flat. You said someday, he whispered. Let's make it today. In that moment, something shifted. This wasn't just about a house or a promise. It was about coming full circle. The boy who'd once dreamed of changing the world was now a man who could finally change hers. He thought back to those Toronto nights, pancake dinners on the floor because the chairs were broken, Patricia's stories about Greece, blue seas, wild thyme, goats wandering into yards, her voice painting pictures in the air. The world's bigger than this apartment, baby, she'd told him, but don't let it change your heart. He hadn't. She'd believed in him when no one else did, memorized his audition lines, cheered him on when casting agents said he didn't look the part. Good thing he's not just a look, she'd snapped once. He's a heart. And when he'd come home to find her asleep at the table, bills stacked beside her, apron still on, he'd known every step he took was for her. Now, sitting in the glow of his success, he saw it clear as day. She'd never stopped giving, her time, her dreams, her everything. He'd built a career, a name, a life. But this was different. This was her sanctuary, her thank you, her turn. He folded the doodle carefully, tucked it into his pocket, and made a silent vow. No more waiting. The clock kept ticking, but for once, he was ahead of it. 2 days later, Keanu stood at the edge of a cliffside trail in Big Sur, the ocean stretching out before him like a promise he could finally keep. The wind tugged at his jacket, sharp and salty, but he barely noticed. His eyes were fixed on a house below, a modest one-story place tucked among coastal shrubs and Monterey pines. It wasn't grand or flashy, just weathered shingles and big windows facing the sea, with a small, overgrown patch that could be a garden. It didn't scream for attention, it whispered peace, exactly what Patricia had always wanted. He took a deep breath, imagining her there, sitting with a book, windows open to the sea air, hands in the soil like she used to when he was a kid. This could be it. He'd driven up alone, not even telling Lorenzo where he was headed. He needed to feel it himself first. After snapping a few photos, the garden space, the porch, the view, he dialed Sophia, his go-to designer and a friend who could turn dreams into blueprints. I need you, he said when she picked up. Her voice came through, warm and curious. Keanu Reeves calling me out of the blue? What's going on? I found a house, Big Sur. It's almost perfect. For you? For my mom. A pause. Okay. Tell me everything. Sitting in his truck, Keanu spilled it all. The photo album, Patricia's quiet dream of a seaside home, how it wasn't just about a building, but about honoring a lifetime of sacrifice. Not a mansion, he said firmly. Something that feels like it's always been hers, like we just found it waiting. Sophia didn't hesitate. 6 weeks? Before her birthday, non-negotiable. And it's a surprise, she can't know. You're insane, she laughed, but I'm in. Permits, crew, decor, landscaping, absolute secrecy. I'll handle it. The next morning, Sophia arrived at the property with a team, sketchbook in hand. Keanu was already there, pacing the porch. It's got good bones, he said. Practical, thoughtful. She doesn't want luxury, she wants comfort. Sophia nodded, scanning the place. It's tired, but we'll bring it to life. Warmth, light, new floors. What's she love? Lavender, cozy corners, soft blues, kitchens where people gather, and a garden, herbs, flowers, more than anything trendy. Storytelling architecture, Sophia said, jotting notes. I've got it. They walked the house together, room by room. Keanu paused often, pointing out details, where a bookshelf could go, a spot for her tea mugs. She used to say the best room's the one with the best stories, he said. Usually the kitchen, Sophia smiled, already sketching. The backyard was next, overgrown but full of potential. Raised beds here, he said, pointing. a trellis, something she can tend without straining. Done, Sophia replied. Guest rooms? For her grandkids, her siblings. Make them feel welcome. The project grew fast. Keanu waved off budget concerns. Think like a son repaying a lifetime, not a designer, he told her. By day's end, Sophia had a plan. Contractors scheduled, paint samples on the way. But as Keanu drove back to his rental that evening, something else stuck with him. He'd passed a family on the roadside, a mother and 2 kids, loading belongings into a beat-up car. A landlord stood nearby, arms crossed, watching them go, evicted. The mother's face was tight with exhaustion, her kids clutching worn backpacks. It hit him like a punch. Patricia had been that mother once, selling her ring to keep a roof over their heads, smiling through the fear so he wouldn't feel it. He pulled over, grabbed his phone, and called Lorenzo. There's a family on Highway 1 just past the gas station, evicted. Find them a place. Quiet, affordable, pay the first year's rent. They don't need to know it's me. Lorenzo didn't blink. Got it. Anything else? Yeah, hurry. Back at the house the next day, Keanu threw himself into the work. He painted walls, hauled lumber, lost himself in the rhythm of it. Every stroke of the brush brought back memories. Nights Patricia stayed up sewing, her fingers raw, to buy him school shoes. Days she walked miles to work because the bus fare went to his sister's books. She'd never complained, never let them see the weight. This house wasn't just a gift, it was a reckoning. A way to balance a scale that had tipped too far, for too long. Sophia caught him staring at a half-painted wall, brush dripping. You okay? Yeah, he said, wiping his brow, just thinking about her hands, how they held us together. She's lucky to have you. No, he said quietly. I'm the lucky one. The crew buzzed around him, but his mind drifted to that family again. He'd overheard a worker, Miguel, talking about how evictions were spiking, rents soaring while wages stalled. Folks like my sister can't keep up, Miguel said. She's got 3 kids, works 2 jobs, and still might lose her place. Keanu didn't say much, just nodded. Later, he slipped Miguel an envelope, cash for his sister's rent, no name attached. For the kids, he muttered. Miguel stared, then nodded back, understanding. If that moment of kindness, or the thought of a mother's unseen struggles, tugs at you, hit that subscribe button. Stories like this don't stop here, and what's coming next will break your heart wide open. Stay with us. The house took shape fast. Sophia's team ripped out dated floors, installed windows that caught the ocean light just right. Keanu insisted on details. A spice rack like the one Patricia had in Toronto, a nook for her books. He pictured her there, humming as she planted rosemary, the sound of waves washing away decades of worry. But it wasn't enough to build for her. He couldn't unsee the unfairness around him. That family on the roadside, Miguel's sister. They were echoes of his own past, proof the world still chewed up people like Patricia and spat them out. He couldn't fix it all, but he could damn well try for some. One afternoon, he found an old magazine clipping in his jacket. Patricia's dream house, torn from that library copy years ago, faded, soft-edged, but still hers. He handed it to Sophia. This is the vibe, not the look, the feeling. She studied it, then smiled. Peaceful, real. We're getting there. Keanu stepped onto the porch, looking out at the sea. The house was more than walls now. It was a bridge between then and now, a way to say what words never could. You gave me a life, Mom, he whispered. I'm giving you one back. And somewhere out there, a family he'd never meet was unpacking in a new home, a quiet ripple of the love he was building here. The sun had barely risen over Big Sur when Keanu's phone buzzed, jolting him awake in his rental. Sophia's name flashed on the screen, her voice tight when he answered. Keanu, it's bad. A storm's coming. Worst in a decade. National Weather Service just issued the alert. It's heading straight for us. He was out of bed in seconds, tugging on jeans. How much time? 2 days, maybe less. Wind's already picking up. We're not ready. Don't stop, he said, grabbing his bag. Secure what you can. I'll be there in 5 hours. He hung up before she could argue, his mind racing. This wasn't just a house anymore. It was Patricia's peace, her redemption. Every late-night prayer she'd whispered for him and Emily. No storm was going to rip that away. He drove to a private airstrip outside LA, hands gripping the wheel, and boarded a jet as the sky began to darken. By the time he landed in Monterey, gray clouds loomed heavy, and the wind howled down the coast. He didn't pause, just jumped in his truck and sped along Highway 1, tires skidding on wet asphalt, until he reached the site. Chaos greeted him. Tarps flapped wildly, tools scattered across the gravel, the house's frame groaning under the gusts. Sophia ran up, rain jacket soaked, shouting over the wind. "You're crazy for coming!" "Had to," he yelled back, stepping into the fray. By noon the rain hit hard. Keanu grabbed a pair of overalls from a worker, rolled up his sleeves and joined the crew, hammering plywood over the windows. No cameras, no entourage, just him, soaked to the bone, teeth gritted against the cold. Miguel, the young carpenter, swung a hammer nearby, glancing over in disbelief. "That really him?" he asked Sophia. "Yeah," she said, brushing wet hair from her face. "Keep working." Inside, the unfinished ceiling leaked, buckets catching drips. The air smelled of damp wood and salt. Keanu traced a wooden beam marked "library wall" with his fingers as thunder rumbled. He turned to Julian, the lead contractor. "Roof?" Julian grimaced. "Reinforced last week, but not sealed. We'll lose shingles, maybe more. It's holding." "For now." "Patch it," Keanu said. "No delays. We finish on schedule." "Keanu, this could set us back days." "She waited decades," he snapped, voice sharp with something raw, then softer. "We can't delay, not for this." Julian nodded. "I'll call in more crew, shifts around the clock. Good, overtime, hazard pay, whatever it takes." Night fell, and the storm worsened. The house creaked, garden beds washed out, soil spilling like tears. An old oak near the property swayed dangerously. Inside, the team huddled in the skeletal kitchen, a propane heater hissing warmth. Keanu stood by a window, arms crossed, staring into the rain. Sophia handed him a mug of coffee. "She doesn't even know this exists," she said quietly. "That's the point," he replied. "She never expected anything, so we're giving her everything." At 2 a.m., a crash jolted them upright. They rushed outside, rain pelting their faces, and found part of the roof torn back, master bedroom exposed, wind and water pouring in. "Get the tarp," Keanu shouted, already climbing the scaffolding. Julian grabbed his arm. "You shouldn't." "I'm not asking," he said, pulling free. He scaled the roof in the driving rain, lightning flashing overhead. Gripping the beams, he worked with the crew, hauling a thick tarp over the gap, nailing it down with bare hands. His flannel clung to him, knuckles scraped raw, but he didn't stop. Below, Sophia watched, heart in her throat. By dawn, the storm eased, leaving the house battered but standing. The crew had rotated all night, patching, salvaging, drying what they could. The garden was a mess, but the bones held. Keanu sat in the future sunroom, legs stretched out, coffee trembling in his hands. He was exhausted, sore, but calm. Emily called at sunrise, voice tight. "Saw the news. Big Sir got hammered. You okay?" "We're fine," he said. "Lost part of the roof, nothing we can't fix." "Are you okay?" He paused. "Tired, wet, more sure of this than anything in years. She'll be overwhelmed." "That's the plan." Later, the team gathered in a trailer. Sophia unrolled a revised blueprint, marking damage. Julian updated the schedule. Miguel passed out water. Keanu stood at the table's head. "No delays. Original deadline, no excuses." "What if mold sets in?" Julian asked. "Inspectors could—" "We fix it faster. More people, smarter work, but we don't delay." Sophia met his eyes. "Why push so hard?" He looked at her, then down. She never dreamed out loud because she was raising us. 2 jobs, empty fridge. She kept us fed, kept us whole. This isn't just a gift. It's a promise. I'm not breaking it over rain. Silence settled. Then Miguel spoke, quiet. "I'll stay tonight. Reframe the garden beds." Another voice. "My cousin's a roofer. I'll call him." Julian nodded. We'll bring a second team, speed it up. Keanu's eyes softened. This isn't about me. It's about someone who gave everything and never asked for a damn thing back. That afternoon, the clouds parted, sunlight spilling over the broken soil and scaffolded frame. It wasn't finished, but it was alive. Keanu walked to the cliff's edge, hands in his pockets, the ocean roaring below. "We're still on track, Mom," he whispered. Behind him, the crew moved like clockwork, rebuilding what the storm tried to steal. But the spirit, the memory of pancake dinners, of Patricia smiling through exhaustion, of quiet wishes scribbled in journals, that endured, just like her, just like his promise. He thought of her hands again, worn, steady, stitching their lives together. This house was his stitches now, piecing together every sacrifice she'd buried. The storm had tested him, but it hadn't won. Not yet. Not ever. Patricia Taylor sat in her modest Toronto apartment sipping tea when her phone pinged with an email from Keanu. The subject was blank, the message short. "I need you in California next Friday. It's important." She froze mid-sip, reading it again. It's important. Keanu didn't throw words like that around lightly. She typed a quick reply, "Of course, everything okay?" And before she could stand, his response came, "Yes. Don't worry, details coming. Just come, please." That please stuck with her. It wasn't casual, it was personal. She didn't push for more. She'd raised him to carry his burdens quietly, and she'd always known when to wait. The next few days dragged. Patricia canceled her community center workshop, rescheduled client calls, packed a small suitcase, 2 outfits, toiletries, a paperback she'd never finish. Keanu always teased her for underpacking, but she hated overstaying. Thursday night, a text arrived from an unknown number. "Mrs. Reeves, this is Sophia. Coordinating your travel for Keanu. Car arrives 7:30 a.m. tomorrow. Safe journey." No last name, no fluff. Just cryptic efficiency, she smiled to herself. That boy's always been dramatic. Friday morning, a black car pulled up on time. The driver opened the door like she was someone important, and soon she was on a private jet, the cabin quiet and scented faintly with lavender. Keanu wasn't there, expected, given his schedule. But a woman approached, silver-haired and warm-eyed. "May I sit?" she asked. "Of course," Patricia said, gesturing. "I'm Claire. Keanu invited me along, heading to California too." "How do you know my son?" Claire's smile was vague. "Personal design projects, nothing big." Patricia chuckled. "Good luck getting him to pick a paint color without overthinking it." They talked as the jet climbed. Claire asked gently, "What's taking you to California?" "No idea," Patricia said. "Keanu just said it's important. Usually means something's weighing on him. He's lucky to have a mom who listens." "I don't pry, but I know him. Short sentences mean it's heavy." Silence settled, comfortable. Then Patricia spoke, almost to herself. When he was 7, he'd taped drawings of ocean cottages on the wall, called them peace houses. Said he'd build me one someday. Claire jotted something in a notepad. Did he? Films, built a lot. Films, respect. I never asked for a house. We had love, books. That was enough. What would your perfect house be? Patricia hesitated, then softened. By the water, not big. Blue curtains, herbs, rosemary, lavender. A spot for a dog, maybe. Lots of light. I'm tired of shadows. Claire nodded, letting the words linger. Some memories are blueprints. The jet landed in Monterey under a clearing sky. Claire parted ways, heading north, enjoy your visit. And Patricia slid into another car. Where are we going? She asked the driver. You'll see, he said with a polite smile. It's a surprise. Of course it is, she muttered, half laughing. The road wound through cliffs and pines, the ocean glinting in the distance. Her heart stirred. Something felt close, familiar. The car turned onto a private lane, and there it was, a house, modest but perfect, sand-colored stone and wide windows catching the late sun. It sat on the cliff's edge, waves crashing below. Patricia's breath caught. This looks like my dream. The door opened and Keanu stepped out, jeans and a soft smile, with Emily and Father David, her old Toronto pastor, beside him. She climbed out, legs shaky. "Keanu?" "Hi, Mom," he said, walking toward her. "Is this a resort? What's happening?" He pulled a velvet box from his pocket, opened it, a silver key with a red ribbon. "Welcome home, Mom." Her hands trembled as she took it, staring from the key to the house. "No," she whispered. "You didn't." "Hmm?" "I did," he said, pressing it into her palm. "Every part's for you." Tears spilled before she could stop them. She broke, knees buckling, and Keanu caught her, pulling her into a hug. Emily joined, arms around them both, crying too. Even Father David's eyes glistened. "You didn't have to," Patricia sobbed into Keanu's shoulder. "Wanted to," he said. "You gave your whole life. It's your turn now." They stood in the driveway, wind swirling, until she looked at the house again. It wasn't flashy. It was hers, every inch intentional. Keanu led her to the door, Emily holding her hand. "Wait till you see the garden," Emily said, grinning through tears. "The garden?" Patricia asked, dazed. "Rosemary, bluebells, pebble paths. Like Grandma's," Emily said. "You remember those?" "We remember everything," Keanu said. She turned the key, hands shaking, and stepped inside. Sunlight poured through the foyer, warm and golden. The air smelled of cedar and flowers. She trailed her fingers along the walls, stepping into the living room. Cozy furniture, white curtains swaying, photos already framed. One caught her eye. Her younger self in a yellow sundress, laughing, baby Keanu in her arms. "How?" "Emily found your albums," Keanu said. "We restored them." The kitchen stole her breath next. Blue tile backsplash, just like a clipping she'd taped to her fridge decades ago. "You remembered this color?" "Wrote it in a notebook," Emily said. "I kept it." Each room unfolded like a memory reborn. A nook with her favorite books, some long out of print, a spice rack with her mother's labels, a prayer room with a crucifix facing the sea. Father David smiled. A quiet place to reflect. She pressed a hand to her heart. In the backyard, the garden bloomed. Lavender, rosemary, roses, a bench under a trellis. Then a gazebo, curtains tied back, a table and chairs inside. A replica of where she'd sat with her late husband. "Every morning, coffee and quiet," Keanu said. "You said it was your favorite." She nodded, tears unstoppable. "It was." They sat in the gazebo as the sun dipped, the air cool and gentle. "I don't deserve this," she whispered. "You do," Emily said. Keanu looked at the ocean. "This isn't just for you. It's for every meal you skipped, every coat you mended, every smile you faked when you were breaking. It's not payment, it's gratitude." "I just wanted you to have a better life," she said, reaching for his hand. "You gave us that," he said. "Now we're giving it back." As the sky turned gold, Patricia breathed it in. This house, this love, this moment. She'd never asked, never expected, but here it was. Every quiet dream she'd buried, handed back to her in walls and windows and tears. If this hits you where it hurts, in that soft spot for the ones who gave everything, don't go yet. Subscribe now, because the ending's coming, and it's gonna wreck you in the best way. Stay with us. The sun melted into the Pacific, casting a golden glow over the Big Sur house as Patricia sat in the gazebo, still clutching Keanu's hand. Emily and Father David had gone inside, leaving them in the quiet hum of twilight. The air was cool, the waves a steady whisper below. Patricia's eyes traced the horizon, her breath steadying after hours of tears. "I thought the surprises were done," she said, voice soft but firm. "But there's something I need to say." Keanu turned, his face open. "Anything, Mom." "When you were born," she began, "I was scared to death. No money, no help, just me and a baby I swore I'd protect. I prayed you'd find peace, that life wouldn't take too much from you. I never dreamed you'd give it back like this." She squeezed his hand, eyes glistening. "You didn't just build a house, you built my heart again." He blinked, voice cracking. "Always needed you, Mom, even when I didn't say it. I had everything because I had you and Emily," she said. "But this is more than I ever let myself want." The sliding door creaked and Emily stepped out holding a remote. "Mom, one more thing." Patricia laughed weakly. "If there's more, I might not survive it." "You will," Emily said, tears brimming. "It's not something to hold. It's to feel." The lights dimmed inside and the TV flickered on. Piano notes filled the air, followed by grainy footage. Keanu at 9, wielding a cardboard sword, shouting, "I'm a knight!" Then Christmas. Torn paper. Emily with a doll. Patricia's voice crackling. "Even if we have nothing, we have each other." A montage rolled. Keanu, shaky auditions. Patricia's cassette recording. "I want my kids to know they're loved." Photos faded in. Her with newborn Keanu, at the bus stop in the rain, alone but strong. Then, her walking into this house, whispering, "This is my dream." The final clip was Keanu, filmed on the porch. "Mom, this is a promise. I heard you, I remember. I know what you gave up. We love you. It's your turn." The screen faded to black, white text glowing. "Even if we have nothing, we have each other." Patricia covered her mouth, sobbing. "I didn't know you kept that." "We never forgot," Keanu said, kneeling beside her. She pulled him close, then Emily too, a silent embrace that held decades. When they parted, Patricia stood, steadying herself. "This house, it's perfect, but it's too much for just me." Keanu frowned. "What do you mean?" "I want it to be more," she said. "A place for single moms like I was, struggling, scared but fighting. A sanctuary. Will you help me?" His eyes widened, then softened. "Yeah, Mom, we'll make it happen." Emily grinned. "A home that keeps giving, just like you." Patricia stepped onto the porch, looking out at the sea, a smile breaking through. This wasn't just her dream anymore. It was a legacy, a ripple of love for others who'd walked her path. Keanu stood beside her, arm around her shoulders. "You gave me a world," she whispered. "Now we'll share it." If this story moved you, if it made you think of the quiet heroes in your life, hit subscribe and share it. Love always finds a way home, and we've got more to tell. What do you think? Can a single act of love really rewrite someone's story? Or is it just a beautiful exception? I believe Keanu's gift to Patricia shows how much we owe the ones who quietly carry us. But it also makes me wonder, how many Patricias are still out there, unseen, unthanked? Maybe this house isn't just a happy ending, it's a challenge to notice, to act, to give back before it's too late. Or maybe it's too perfect, a Hollywood glow on a messy world. Either way, it's got me thinking about my own quiet heroes. What about you? Who's your Patricia? Drop your thoughts below, I'd love to hear them. Huge thanks for sticking with this journey. If it hit you like it hit me, subscribe, share, and let's keep these stories alive. See you next time.